charges have been formulated. We believe the evidence is ready, and Jacob Zuma must have a trial date at the soonest possible time.
Joining me from Grahamtown in South Africa is Helmo Preuss. He's the Chief Economist at research firm Forecaster Ecosa. Great to have you on the show, Mr. Preuss. Tell us a little bit about this latest move. How do you think it changes the way foreign investors might view South Africa?
Well, this is a very positive step, but it's only marginal. What has to change is that President Jacob Zuma must vacate the presidency. And constitutionally, he's only required to do that in May 2019. There is a succession leadership conference in December this year, so there's still a long way to go. Unless he gets recalled like President Thabo Mbeki, this is only a marginal positive step.
Look, these corruption allegations have dogged him for years. How have these allegations affected his and his government's ability to manage the economy?
It has negatively affected the economy because there has been a lot of policy uncertainty, and his focus, rightly so from a personal point of view, has been in avoiding jail. So that has been the problem. If you compare the Mbeki presidency to the Zuma presidency, they're chalk and cheese in terms of economic growth. And that's not only due to the fact that global growth is slow. Since the last 2 or 3 years, global growth has returned and South Africa has lagged.
Mr. Preuss, the central bank's governor, the governor of the South African Reserve Bank, had an interesting comment earlier. He said, "We cannot interfere where individual businesses who feel that the reputational risks to that particular business are actually just too high for them to continue in that respect." Do you think that companies and individuals are taking a stronger stand against corruption despite whatever else the government might be doing? And do you see a cultural change happening in South Africa?
Yes, I do. If you look at what's happened recently in terms of Bell Pottinger, KPMG and Trillion, those three firms have been under reputational risk and people have avoided them. So it has happened, and that's fairly widespread in terms of people not wanting to be tainted. So I think it's a very positive move, both on part of the whole society from that respect.
Now, just going back to the start of this interview, you said that Mr. Zuma needs to be prosecuted in the way that Thabo Mbeki was, but he is in many ways a symbol of a much, much broader issue. Do you think that just going after Jacob Zuma is going to solve that entire problem? No, but it's the first step, and you've got to start somewhere. So I think it's worthwhile for Jacob Zuma to have his day in court, and then there will be further prosecutions. The whole Gupta family saga, there's multiple people involved in that, and they all need to be prosecuted and have their day in court. Now, look, both S&P, Standard & Poor's and Fitch have South Africa at junk status. Moody's is at the lowest investment grade status, has South Africa at the lowest investment grade status. Do you agree with their assessments?
Not really. I think we have more positives than what they give us credit for, but it's their choice in terms of giving us junk or investment grade. I think our growth this year and in future will be higher than what they're forecasting, and part of the reason why they downgraded is because they're worried about growth. So we'll see what growth in the third quarter is, and if you look at the second quarter, we had 2.5% growth there, and we are looking at very strong growth because of the record maize harvest. And that's one of the reasons why the IMF is fairly positive about South African growth, is because of what's happening in terms of agriculture and mining.
And finally, Mr. Preuss, you mentioned the growth prospects. Do you see them accelerating? Do you see growth accelerating into 2018 and 2019, or do you see more headwinds from overseas?
No, I see growth accelerating. Last year was the lowest since 2009. It was only 0.3. We had 2 successive quarters of contraction in the last quarter of 2016 and the first quarter of this year. But since then, growth has accelerated, partly due to a record maize harvest. We've got in excess of 16 million tons, whereas our normal harvest is only 12 million tons. And that's also continuing in terms of mining, despite what the problem is in terms of investment.
Helmo Preuss, Chief Economist at research firm Forecaster Ecosa in Grahamtown. Thank you.